Welcome, and in this presentation, our group will be presenting our proposal for the Excrement Kings Company.
Farming is a big business here in British Columbia, and although this is great for our economy, it has its own drawbacks. One of the biggest problems associated with high farm density areas is the soil and water contamination they cause. A simple but accurate description of this problem is as follows.
There are two main pollutants: contamination of water from preservatives and pesticides, as well as over-fertilization in the form of manure pits.
Our company, the Excrement Kings, plans on solving both issues simultaneously via use of a state-of-the-art water sanitization and fertilizer production joint plant.
We plan on doing this by offering two separate services. The first one is a groundwater runoff collection and sterilization service. For this service, there is an upfront cost and a monthly cost to the farmer. For this service, we install a collector tank which accumulates all the runoff water from the farm, and once a week our company's liquid tankers will come and collect all the water. It is then transported to our plant where it will be sterilized and returned to a river.
The second service is a manure management and fertilizer production service. For this service, there are two options the farmer can choose from. The first choice is they sell their manure to us and we process it and sell it off as a commercial fertilizer. The second option is they can pay a cheap price for us to collect their manure and return with the amount of fertilizer they want.
It is now obvious to see why our solution offers the best overall package to the farmer for as low of a cost as possible, while being able to almost eliminate the problem of water contamination completely. But how will our company go about doing this?
Let's start by going step by step through the water runoff sterilization process. As previously mentioned, we will install liquid collector tanks at the runoff areas. The tanks will look like what we have on the screen right now. As you can see, one side is littered with small holes which only allow the contaminated water to pass into the tank. The side with the holes will be dug off into the runoff area. The exposed valve on the front side is what the liquid tankers will use to collect all the liquid.
All this collected liquid is then transported to one of our plants where it is then pumped into one of the large external liquid tanks at our site, as shown on the screen.
Now, this is where we begin turning the collected pesticides and preservative-infested water into clean, distilled water. First, the water is sent to a high-pressure, low-flow reciprocating pump. This is done to drastically increase the water pressure to force the water through a 15-stage osmosis filter, as shown in the bird's eye view of the plant. An osmosis filter is nothing more than a simple liquid and solid separation system. As you can see, the filter comprises 15 individual osmosis filters where, due to extremely high pressure, only water can make it through those super tiny holes, and any physical debris is left behind. With this close-up of a single filter stage, we can see more closely how the system works. In reality, the size of these holes would be much smaller, but for the sake of demonstration, they were enlarged.
In total, the water goes through 3 of these filters as well as a high pressure pump every time due to the pressure drop caused by each filter.
Now that the water is completely free of any physical particulates, it can be sent to the first boiler. The objective here is to separate the pure water from all the other liquid waste. This is done by boiling the water and collecting the water vapor. This water vapor then goes through a condenser to turn the vapor back to liquid form. This almost pure water is then sent to a second boiler to ensure all contaminants have been removed. The vapor then goes through a condenser again and turns into pure distilled liquid water, where it is then pumped into a nearby river.
At this point, we have successfully removed contaminated water from farms, cleaned it, and relocated it. Now let's take a look at our manure to commercial fertilizer transformation process.
Independent of the choice the farmers make about selling or paying for the new fertilizer, the process is the same. Firstly, our company goes to the farmer with workers and trucks and collects all of the manure for the week. This will be done in a very similar fashion to how the city collects the garbage every week.
The manure is then transported to our facility where it is dumped into large external tanks as seen on the screen. We now begin the journey of turning manure into commercial fertilizer. The first step is to join all 3 tanks into one path via use of a 3-to-1 conveyor. Once manure is onto the conveyor system, its first stop is the dehydrator. As you can see on the screen, the dehydrator is a rather large device. Here the objective is to remove all the moisture from the manure in order to turn it into a clumpy sand texture. The dehydrator uses a set of fans to flow fresh air onto superheated coils and onto the manure. The coils heat up the air to a very high temperature. As a result, the water in the manure is evaporated and travels with the air out the side exhaust.
We now have dry manure, but it's ridiculously hot, so before we can do anything to it, we must send it through a powerful blast chiller via the use of the same conveyor system.
Now that the manure is drying back to room temperature, we can send it to the next step, which is granulation. To achieve the desired fine-grained consistency of commercial fertilizer, we send the manure through a sequence of spiked drums, which crush and tear apart the manure. As you can see here, we have opted for several of these drums to ensure maximum granulation.
Our product has now successfully turned into commercial-grade fertilizer and can now be sent to the packaging sector of the facility where the fertilizer is packaged into drums, ready for trucks to deliver to farmers. In the end, our company can offer a cheap and effective water cleaning service that eliminates the problem of nearby water contamination and the problem of over-fertilization, all via use of an external treatment plant. With this in mind, we as a group hope that our design can and will help change the way that waste is treated on farms.